we need to watch things die, generally from a good, safe distance. I would have loved to open this show up with the song Vicarious uh, by Tool, but I think there's probably some red tape there that would get this yanked down or taken off of YouTube or something of that nature. But this is Talk Junkie, and I'm Justin Perkins. And uh, why do we need to see the negative? Why do we need to see the hurtful things? This is going to be a mini cast, but I'm going to do a YouTube video on this too. This is more in tune with the things I was doing the YouTube videos on last year, and I like the videos, and they're fun and they're different. So get a mini cast, and then later on down the road you get a YouTube video. I don't particularly myself feel that way. I don't know if it's a weakness or if it's positive. I feel it's positive. I don't know. I don't like to see misfortune in others. I don't like to see tragedy. I don't even watch the news. But I understand that I'm very unique in that, as opposed to a lot of the people I know around me. And even people who don't do so with ill intent or don't do so with a negative state of mind, or do so out of a desire to see negative things, just a lot of people are drawn to it. A lot of people want to see other people fail. A lot of people want to see other people bleed. A lot of people want to see tragedy. And a lot of times, tragedy seems to be the most prevalent news in our life. And the big podcast I've been researching here lately is why the world ain't so bad after all. And looking at the statistics and looking at a lot of things, I think it's going to be a good show. Those shows are a little harder for me. I'm not good at remembering and quoting statistics, so I've got to have notes. I don't like to do notes. I like to do them like this one, just free form off the top of the head. But I feel sometimes left out of the loop because I don't like to see the bad side. I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to not acknowledge its existence, because that's very dangerous. And I'm not promoting that any way, shape, or form. But I do want to give it its space, its breath, and the proper respect. And a lot of times, something horrible and negative will happen, and I'll have very limited knowledge of it. I'll know the basics because I feel that's all I need to know. I don't need to go in depth about things. And then I'll know a lot of really horrible jokes related to that topic. And I think people look at a dark sense of humor and things of that nature as antisocial or very negative. A lot of times it's just a way of I don't know. First of all, I don't think anything's off the table to be joked about, anything at all. But secondly, I feel like that's the way some people process negative situations is through humor, and often dark humor. But in today's world, you can't do that in a lot of areas. It's just in a lot of areas you can't express yourself in any way. You can't say anything. But that's a different mini cast in itself. But this desire to see the bad, to see it's often seems to be a fairly American trait to me, because big surprise, I'm American. I don't know how prevalent it is other places, and I'm not allowed to see. I don't have the opportunity to see the news other places. I have throughout the years had a couple contacts who live overseas. A guy I worked with at a job in Winchester, his brother left here at the age of 18 into the military, and I'm 37, and he's probably 4 years older than me, and he's never been back. So you're looking at a guy that's probably spent 30-some years, or closer to 30 than 20 outside of the country, and he and I used to stay in contact. We no longer are, and the way that things are reported and the way that things are looked at least at that time outside of the U.S., was stunning. There didn't seem to be, at least from his observation, a negative skew on many things. And negativity seems to sell. They bombed the World Trade Center. It became a positive thing as far as the connection it gave people, because for a short time we were united as a country. But I don't know that a positive thing could have led to that type of unity. But in fairness, could a positive thing have affected that many people's lives in that large of a way collectively? And could a positive thing can't cause fear, and often fear brings unity, and fear brings ratings and things of that nature as far as media goes. So the media is always very negatively laced, and it causes a false perception of what the world is and where we are at as a people and as a country. But on the flip side of that, we have this desire in us to seek out negative. At least some people do. I don't feel that that's necessarily across the board, and it may not even be the majority. I believe that just in some aspects of life, the negative is more appealing. One of those things being media and entertainment culture. The negative seems to be, you want to see the star fail because in some way you feel like a failure yourself because the star has accomplished something you have not. You want to see the politician fail, probably because they're a monster and they're pretending to not be outwardly. You want to see the other side go down because you want your side to feel dominant and correct and prosperous. And that's probably leading to some of the negative portrayals of certain things. And that bleeds into certain people and certain things, whether it be media or written news, to the guy next door who they have an agenda, they have an opinion, and they want to express it. Often the loudest voices come from the smallest group of individuals, but the voice is so loud it infiltrates everything around it, and I think that often is where we get this negative influence in our society. The negative voice just seems to be so much louder than the positive. And then you have people like myself who have a deep disdain for this negative influence, for this negative voice, and I don't really respond with a positive voice. I just simply ignore it and go on about my life. So I feel that a lot of people rationalize, okay, they're over the top negative on all these things. All these different people in my life are overly negative. Let me just ignore that and be positive myself. Well, that works really well for you, but it doesn't always help further the point that we are a fairly positive species. You have to be, it's pragmatic, because there has to be a sense of negativity, there has to be a sense of fear, sometimes a sense of struggle, to keep you working to survive. On the other hand, there has to be the desire for a positive outcome, the hope for a positive outcome, and the work towards a positive outcome, a lot of times, to even succeed. So, as we become a softer, more complicated society, a society not honestly struggling the way societies have struggled in the past, and if you look at the numbers, we're not. Poverty is tremendously down. It's not zero, which would be ideal, but the positive aspect is poverty is extremely down. The negative aspect is the poverty in our country is very much right in front of our faces, and nobody's doing anything about it. Or that's the perception. A lot of people are working behind the scenes. A lot of people are working. We don't feel like our government's doing anything to help or enough to help. And they very well may not be doing anything of any real benefit. They have the ability to try to help and do so in the worst possible way. And that's a bipartisan effort far and away. So the perception is, the broadcast is, poverty is rampant. Poverty isn't rampant. Poverty is much higher than it should be. But if you look at it from the point of poverty is not rampant, and we are much better off than we should be, and we have the ability to approach this issue, attack this issue, and rectify this issue to a large degree, because poverty is not as prevalent as perceived, then that becomes a much easier task. But if you look at the task in the aspect that poverty is relentless, poverty is overwhelming, poverty is so prevalent that we're behind the eight ball and we don't know what to do. There's no way to house, feed, clothe, and help these people, to get these people the psychiatric care and the health care and the services that they need, because we're so overwhelmed with this massive poverty. Well, that's the portrait we're often given. And it's much harder to attack the problem from that point of view than it is from the point of view that poverty is not so prevalent. So see, a lot of times this negative skew that's placed on things is grossly inaccurate, and a lot of times it doesn't really affect us. A lot of times it just feeds our desire for entertainment. But sometimes it becomes debilitating, and it, in effect, disrupts our ability to rectify serious issues. And so this lean towards a negative culture becomes into the forefront. We're not a negative culture as a whole. Positive outreach and positive influence and positive thought processes are almost always met with positivity. I meet people all the time who are extremely negative, who it's always bad. It's always worse. But if you approach them with logic, positivity, and sensibility, a lot of times that reciprocates. You understand? I have things that are very positive in my life, things that others may look at as well, it's easy to be positive about this situation because you're here, but look over here. Over here you're not in the positive side. Yeah, but I got to still try to look at it positively, because there's nothing forcing me to look at it negatively other than a societal influence from a very small group of people. So it's an option. It's an option to look at it positively or negatively. I'm not always going to be able to take the positive. Look, we're programmed in a lot of ways. I honestly believe somewhat out of self-defense, somewhat out of self-preservation, to look at something negatively and go, well, wait a minute. That's not where I want to be. That's not what I want to happen. That's because that in itself is a negative thing, and I need to fear that, and I need to look at that, and I need to emphasize that, and I need to focus on that negativity because that could save my life. That's self-preservation. There's no doubt. I mean, I have not got my degree yet in anything, especially psychiatry or anything of any level of expertise. That is purely an opinion, but it seems rational to me. That's self-preservation. Now, there are people out there that are just sad, negative people, and they need others to fail to lift them up. They need others to fail to justify to themselves why they are the monsters they are. And maybe those people got a bad shake. Maybe those people are lazy and don't want to work at improving. We sit and do maybes all day. Those people can affect you. To sit and to be ignorant to the fact that those people can have an impact on your life is being disingenuous. That's being facetious to say that those people can't in any way bring a negative to you, because they do. And they can. It's possible. But you can outweigh that. If the news led with and this is my opinion, if the news led on one particular evening with a very positive, uplifting event, I think the reaction to that story would be great. If the news led, another news organization led that evening with a horrible tragedy, the reaction to that would be massive. Concern, desire to be informed. Some people just want to see the wreck. They just want to see the mangled bodies. They just want to see the blood. But a lot of people, it's genuine concern. Now, if these two news organizations continue down this path for an extended amount of time, news organization A is bringing you positivity, bringing you the good things in life, very little bad things mixed in. Well, news organization B is bringing you only the negative. Maybe once a week, once a month, a couple times a year, they'll pop in a feel-good story. They'll pop it in the middle or at the main end. They won't lead with it. No way. They're going to lead with that negativity. If they can bury it in the middle in between commercials, they may do that. If they can throw it in as a throwaway at the main end, as that little feel-good throwaway story to get a smile on the anchor's face, they will. But for a year, Group A and Group B continue down this path. Well, two things happen. One, as a collective, as a group, both individuals listening to News A and News B have one issue. They're ill-informed. They're not getting an objective view of the world with equal amounts of good and bad. It may feel good to see only that good, but there is some negative, and you're missing it, vice versa. But my assumption would be, and this is purely an assumption, and the way media is accessible now, and our ability to obtain information and knowledge now, I don't know how you'd study this. I don't know. It'd be hard. It would almost have to be, looked at in a vacuum in a very controlled situation. But no matter how much the desire to be informed and to participate in the ritual of, let's say these are just evening news organizations, and that's the only news you're getting, no matter the desire for the ritual of watching the news, my assumption would be, and I truly feel this would flush out with the right experiment, that within a fair amount of time, a balanced amount of time, at Group A, the group getting the positive news, would lose interest in the news, possibly gain more interest in themselves and their surroundings and the community around them, and possibly have the desire to do good, to do more good. A small percentage will become complacent and feel like things were just too good. Let it go. Bring me the negative. On the other side, Group B, I feel, would become enthralled and entangled in this web of negativity that comes at them, and overly concerned, and they would become anxious and depressed and restless and worry filled, and they would not lose interest in it. They would have to watch every night, see the world crumble around them. They need to see it. And I think for the most part they would become reclusive, depending on that information, wanting that information every night, but having less and less contact with the outside world. I think maybe not small, but I think a group of that people would have the same response as a group of people who saw the good and want to do something to help, because it would play on their desire to help the world. So I think you need a mix, but I think more importantly, you need not put as much value on things as far as them being negative or positive, and put more value on experience and things that you can see to be true in front of you. And that puts a perspective on it that you can't really get from others, from other situations. But that's me. I don't like to watch things die, not even from a good safe distance. Um, I like to see things thrive. And if they're bad things, I like to oppose them with an opinion that's thought out and calculated and at least considerate of the situation. But again, that's me, and not everyone is going to feel that way, and that's okay. It makes us different. But try it. Try to seek out the positive and limit the negative. And people confuse that. Don't become ignorant to the world around you. There's a lot of bad in the world. There's a lot of things painted to be worse than they are. There's just as many things painted to be better than they are on certain fronts. Take the time to research, understand, and appreciate what's what. Again, you guys, I've got a lot of feedback on stuff. That's awesome. I am going to do a lot more YouTube videos in the coming time, so help me get that out and get the subscribers up and get that. Please share, like this. Somebody's listening to it. I don't know who. It's enough people that the listens go up enough that I look at it and go, okay, then I can justify doing another episode. Probably going to do it anyway at this point because I just love it. I love the opportunity to sit down and just to look at these things, to think about them, to discuss them, and on certain ones, just doing the research is fun. I do plan on having guests down the road. I want to get my sound quality a little better when I'm running multiple mics, but I also want to find people that truly want to do it and are truly comfortable doing it and can truly add a lot of conversation and good conversation to it. But authorjperk213@gmail.com. YouTube page is J Perkins. It's me holding the microphone, standing and talking as the picture. I'm not important enough for it to be way up there, I'd say, on most people's searches. Facebook, if you want to message me through Facebook, I do use the Messenger. I do not, however, really get on there very often unless it's to promote something. So, you can put comments in the YouTube videos. You can email me comments, or you can mail them to me through the Facebook page, which is Author J Perkins on Facebook. I got a new book, should be coming out fairly soon, so that will result in me using that Facebook much more often for a little short spurt. So if you want to find it there, again, get me there. But I don't know when this will be released because sometimes I do these and hold them just to have stuff to release, expect these mini casts. But if it is after the 30th of January, which is a Thursday, the Red Spotted Newt, READ, the Red Spotted Newt in Hazard, Kentucky will be open. It's a local bookstore. If you live there locally, please pick my books up there. That would mean more to me than anything if you went there and bought my books. That's the only place locally you can get my books. So if you want to go there and get them, that would make me very, very happy. If you don't live locally and you can't get them there, you can get them on Amazon. Co-Kingdom's available on Amazon. The one I wrote for my son, Everyone's Different Just Like Me, is on there, and The Boy Superhero Hearing is on there. So again, you can get them on Amazon. But if you live local, please go to Red Spotted Newt and get them. That would be awesome. Thanks. You guys have a good day.